Hello and welcome to Dinis Guarda, Cities ABC, Open Business Council YouTube podcast series. We are a fast-growing platform that profiles and creates awareness for the global topics that concerns us as citizens and what is happening around ourselves in terms of cities, in terms of society, in terms of business, and specifically we are focused about people. People is what makes cities, is what makes humanity, and every person is part of humanity or makes humanity, but as well every person can make a difference. And here our focus is looking at how we shift technology, how we can actually make the bridge between ideas, technology, and as well business and platforms. And that's what we've been doing for the last 1 year, reaching actually today 6 million views as we speak, and trying to grow in the sense of profiling the best people and as well looking at ways of creating inspiring narratives around different areas. So today we have with us a company and the founder and CEO that I'm quite excited, mostly because it touches one of the most relevant areas in the world today, but as well because they've been doing a fantastic work building a very strong company that is first in the world in a lot of areas. So welcome to our series, Dror Fixler, and that is a PhD and co-founder of FirstPoint Mobile Guard, a company that develops best-in-class cybersecurity solutions, specifically related with cellular devices for security-minded companies and individuals. Professor Fixler has an established a reputation and as well experience as an entrepreneur with decades of experience working in telecommunications, and previously he founded the company that is a pay-by-mobile startup, Raging Mobile, that was acquired. He served as CTO for Monitel AN Technologies, telecom providing services, and as well have management positions at the Eclectic System and Septier, part of a founding member of Israel HLS Forces Sigint Group. And Professor Fixler is a member of the 3GPP Partnership Project, the European Telecommunications Standard Institute, and the GSMA 5G Committee. So a lot of things here, and I don't want to go too much technical, but we're going to be technical in this interview for people listening to us. We're going to be talking about the company, about cybersecurity, about all those different areas. I think some of the things just to highlight is that so Professor Fixler has been awarded the top industry accolades. He received President International Fellowship Initiative Award of the Chinese Academy of Science in 2017, and he was honored with the European Science Foundation Plasmon Bion Nanoscience Award in 2015. So a lot of things, a lot of patents as well, and 85 scientific publications organized in 12 conferences. And this as well, I think it's important to do as well. Is currently head of the bar of the Bar-Ilan Institute of Nanotechnology and Advanced Materials, and the professor of electrical engineering. So quite an impressive background, and welcome to our series, Dror Fixler.
Thank you very much. It's great to be your guest today.
No, my pleasure. So I'm particularly excited because, first of all, I have a huge passion for Israel, although I never was there like we discussed, but I hope to fix that in the near future. And as well about the acumen that you guys have been doing in terms of technology, in terms of a lot of different areas. So I would like to start, first of all, with your fantastic academic background and entrepreneur background. I'd like to have a bit of an overview how you've been balancing both, first of all, your education, but as well your education and entrepreneurial background.
Yeah. It's, the life are a combination of many things together. And when I did my first level degree, I did it both in physics and computer science. In the last year, my teacher, my professor, just took me and offered me to work for Motorola. In these days, we are talking about 95. It was the 2G technology, cellular 2G, and Motorola wrote proprietary stack that it's called IS634. It's an A interface that connecting the CBSC to the MTX, the cellular tower to the switches. And this technology was part of CDMA technology. Here in Israel, we have one cellular operator in the CDMA telephone, and it was in South America till last, I think, even its execution even today. So in these days, I just got the first feeling how we are combining academia and real standard cellular protocols, and I continue in this direction and work in Israel. In these times, there were new ISP, international switching provider, calling international, making international calls. It was quite expensive, and companies did business from that. And I came with an idea, crazy idea, that it was very interesting and success at the end. Let's give free calls, international calls, that during the calls they will get advertisement, and the advertisement will pay the calls instead of the caller. And it was nice success. We had some other things in between, like greetings, thank you for calling Barak, the company name, or the time in your destination is, in order to know that if we are calling from Israel to United States, maybe it's midnight or early time in the morning. So take your idea, maybe you should not call in this time. So the time and destination is. And while working with the ISPs in Israel, I was one of the initiators and established the SIGINT group that you just mentioned, that was part of the Israeli Prime Minister. It's internal security services. We were 7 people at the beginning. I think today there are more than 800 people. One of the greatest intelligence group in Israel is the SIGINT group. All location-based services, a often interception system, it's systems that I built. If you want to interrogate, to find someone who is nearby him, where he is moving, if you want to listen to his calls, for many years, more than 10 years, this was my business. I developed many tools that was some kind of hacking, capturing things. In these days, it was Oslo days. We have a lot of serious things internally in Israel, and our system was rescue. 100, maybe 1,000 of people, 2,000 exists. I got the highest price of the security of Israel for my systems. And actually, since these days, I start to be, as you mentioned, the 3GPP and GSMA partner and member of the Israeli cellular operator. And up to date, I started at 3G, UMTS, 4G, LTE, and these days in 5G. I'm part of the standardization of these groups. And during this time, I continue my master and PhD. After that, I went for a few years in China. I visited China. I started in Guangzhou in South China, go to Beijing. I got a lab there and fellowship of the CAS, of the Chinese Academic Society. And at 2008, as well, I was part of a Pay by Mobile GSMA group, mobile payment. Try to imagine in your mind, no smartphone. NFC was not standard yet. People started talking about NFC. And I was a hacker. I know how to catch all devices with IMSI catcher, rogue base station. What is this device? It's fake cell tower. It's elements that can transmit radio signal. The mobile don't know it's a fake, and he register on that. And I thought, why to use it to hack people? Let's use it in order to make payment. And I add this kind of small devices in each point of sale. And the feature phone, the old Nokia phone, you just present it there. He recognizes your ID, goes to the computer, checking your balance, and by that you can pay. And I got a patent about that. And there was a competition in the Mobile World Congress in Barcelona, the very famous mobile cellular event. And I got the first prize of the innovation competition. And you can imagine that all VCs just stand at the line in order to give investment and things like that. And even Visa, I met Visa CEO in these days in San Francisco. At the end, Northbridge bought my patent. It was very interesting that the vice president of Northbridge, it's a huge American VC, he submit similar patent to me 2 months after me. So he rejected due to my prior art. He called me from Mountain View to Tel Aviv. He asked me, Dror, this is you? Yes. Come with the system to Manhattan. He bought me a air ticket. I arrived the day after. He saw that, immediately acquired the patent and the company. I worked with him for 2 years in Mountain View. It was amazing. And this time I finished my postdoc in Stanford, or it was close each other. And then I came back and go back to the university in Israel, Bar-Ilan University, electrical engineering. I'm continued to teach students electromagnetic wave and all the basic and fundamental in cellular technology, and continue to work and building companies. In 2016, I established FirstPoint due to the fact that I have a lot of experience from hacking side. I just analyzed that no one really protect us, and it just need to have a comprehensive solution that can give us a real solution that can protect our devices, not only mobile phones. The main business is critical infrastructure, electricity, water, just what happened last week in United States, the gas line. And we are working with E.ON, the largest energy company in Europe. They were one of the lead investor in our company at 2019. And they are using our solution to protect their smart meters in Germany, and we are continue on going about that. So we have different branches of mobile phones, critical infrastructure, and this is our vision. We are going to be the checkpoint of the critical infrastructure. We are going to provide a comprehensive solution that can protect everyone due to the huge experience that we have from the hacking side.
So before we go, I have a lot of questions about FirstPoint Mobile. I want to touch your background, because you have a kind of a lot of different hats. So one hat is the academic research, the other one is the hacking, which is a very interesting, because of course when people think about these things, you think about James Bond, and in James Bond, of course, things normally get always a bit more fictionalized, but actually normally the depiction of a lot of these things in James Bond, realistic in the last ones, have been more realistic than people might think. But I want just to go through, how do you juggle the academic part with the PhD and of course Stanford and a lot of other things, with the hacking part, especially in China, because if you hack in China, you might be in trouble, and at the same time with building this entrepreneurial part. And I think this is particularly important for people listening to us, because I think there's a lot of myths around entrepreneurship, and most of the entrepreneurs, and I'm an entrepreneur and I respect a lot of entrepreneurs, it's very hard working people, but that study a lot. And people forget that you have to study in a lot of layers, but especially people that keep the academic, and you are still teaching, it's really more impressive. I've been teaching as well. I don't have time now, but I respect that a lot. So a bit of that background, I would love to hear.
Yeah, so it's a great question, but I need to put a wall between the hacking and the protection. And since 2012, I stopped hacked. It's totally out of my regime. After more than 12 years of doing that, and knowing the philosophy, the architecture, and what is the correct way to do these things more efficient, I make the decision to go to the other side. Even in the hacking, it was hacking, legitimate hacking. It's a lawful interception. It's coming by law. There is courts that making the decision what you can do and what you cannot do. But I decide not to be on this side anymore. And then I register as a professor at the university, continue teaching, because I believe that the brilliant mind are coming from the young students, that you can, like what they did to me, that after the first level degree just took me to the business and teach me what it's make me my life for the future. I'm doing the same to the brilliant mind and heads that we have in Israel. And this would make us big difference from all other countries and on the surrounding area. If you can just look that we have 50% companies in cyber coming from Israel. Why it's happened? And you mentioned that it's a little bit surprising that so small small area, and we are less than 8 million citizens, producing 50% of that. It's only due to one reason, that we understood that without that we cannot survive. In order to make our next day possible, James Bond using a gun at the end of the day. We are not using guns. No guns, no need for guns anymore. The weapons coming from the computers, the weapons are the mobile phones, and using technology, you can do amazing things without harming anyone at the end of the circle. There are people that using hacking in order to harm, definitely, but it's even there, as happened last week, the hacking groups claim that Russian used them and they apologize. There is some ethics at the end of the day. And going to the protection side, and by trying to provide companies, banks, lawyers, high-tech, startups, everyone that want to protect himself, even not from serious things, just competition. Your competitor hiring a private inspector in order to know where is your businessman goes to. It's very important to know if you can catch all the competitor clients and you will come before and reduce the cost, or the price will be compete. You have amazing things that it will be above the others. We are trying to make the world better, and we are trying to protect ourselves from the bad guys. And this go with big harmony with the academia. The academia gives knowledge, gives information. As you will have more information, it's better to the world. If you are taking the knowledge, people believe on nonsense, can think that 5G will make them cancer or COVID. I don't know what people can believe. So strange things. Can be afraid about radiation if they have no idea what is radiation and what is the meaning of radiation, what is X-ray, what is millimeter waves, where is a cellular band, how they can understand that it cannot harm them at all. But university providing knowledge, teaching, providing people to be smarter can make them more productive. We need more engineers. We need more people that goes to this segment. And on the other side, take this brilliant people and make with them the state-of-the-art solution that will lead our world for a better place in the next decade. This is our mission. So the combination of establishing company and building new places for good students to work, it's the same thing. The hacking, it's an old story. Give us the background, give us the knowledge, but no more.
I understand that, but I think we have white hacking and black hacking. So I think in the white hacking, there's a lot of good things. And actually, for instance, there's networks. Actually, I did a study of over 1 million hackers in the world, looking at especially benevolent hacking, let's put it that way. But well, that's not the purpose of this call. And I think it's really interesting, the points you mentioned, because education for me is a key element. And I think it's really important for everything we do. So let's go back to FirstPoint Mobile Guard. So you mentioned about the constitution of the company, and congratulations for the achievements and the work you've been doing, which is really impressive. And you mentioned that you start with something very secretive, working very close with the government, and now going much more in terms of areas like, especially looking at IP and devices and cellular threats, which is partly the main area that you are touching right now. So can you tell us a bit about that, especially for people that are less familiar with these areas, and as well to understand the risks that everyone is going through, but as well special business and governments. And like you mentioned electricity, for instance, and hacking on a nuclear station can actually destroy an entire continent, let's put it that way. So yeah. I would like to touch how this is important for everyone listening to us. And one of the things as well about this podcast is about education. And I would love to have that, because you have the two hats, both the entrepreneurial, but as well the teacher.
Yeah. So what FirstPoint is providing is comprehensive solutions that can protect all devices using cellular technology. Cyber, it's a huge word, mainly for IT computers. Now we are going for the next, let's say, 20 minutes, we will discuss cellular cyber protection. It's one of the segments that it's part from the big cyber solution. But unfortunately, it's not treated enough yet. And what is my meaning? everyone using cellular technology. He's using his mobile phones, but not only that. All smart home, all kind of connected devices like connected cars, as well as all electricity meters that exist in these days are using cellular technology. Why? Because we need to distribute millions of devices all around, and we are going to add more and more. The 5G technology have three main elements. One of them is more massive deployment of IoT devices, and all of these IoT devices going to use 5G technology. When you have devices that communicate with a cellular network, you may suffer from, let's say, main three vectors of hacking. The first one is denial of service. If someone don't want you to be connected, you will be on denial of service. It can be relevant for your car with the Waze or other kind of navigation system, and you are losing the GPS or losing the data, and the car don't know where to go. It's make you nervous, and you can lose your control. But try to imagine that you are using your refrigerator, and this refrigerator connected to Amazon automatically to announce about the level of milk, bread, sugar, all the things that you have in your automatic kitchen, and someone just disturb it and denial of service or change the information that goes out from your kitchen. It can be curious, it can be not so serious, but let's go one step ahead about the electricity of your home that connected out, and the neighbor, a smart guy, just managed to connect cellularly his meter to your meter. So all reports that goes from him, it's going to be used from you, and you will pay for him his bill. Great. Now it's more serious for the individual. But if we are going to companies, organizations like banks, like lawyers that I mentioned before, let's go to the other side of the critical infrastructure, the energy companies, the distribution, as well as the manufacturer. In case that you manage to do denial of service for them, this is very serious. In case of denial of service, you're losing control of what is going on the end. And in the smart electricity, many things happen automatically. You know where it's needed, what is going on with the green energy, where the sun produces more or less. In India, things like that happened recently, that solar panels was just make denial of service. They disconnect from the network, and somehow they covered the solar panels with elements that will not get the sunlight. And it was pilot for this Indian company, and they failed because they were not collect electricity, and they don't know that things like that happened. It was remote. These things happened, as we reported, in Europe, daily basis. Denial of service in order to steal energy, it's something that happened all the time. So no doubt that each company that deals with energy need to protect themselves if they are using cellular. So this is a first vector, dealing with denial of service. It can be IMSI catching, if we are talking about mobile phones. It can deals about rogue base station and much more. The second vector, it's all things that correlate with cellular signaling. There are many ways to communicate with a device, and the nature of the device is to report its location. Never mind if you are a car, or you are using a container that just travel from different places. And you have a cellular chip, cellular antenna. He need to report his location when he's changing location area code, when he's changing routing area. In case that once that against you can collect this kind of information, collect SS7 signaling information or diameter information, it's very informative for him. Let's imagine that you can control the number of containers that go from one place to other place. If you can control the location of specific car, specific type of cars, or specific if the company have 10 cars and the competitions deals, the competitor wants to know the location of these 10 cars all the time. It's very informative thing. You don't need to listen to what they are calling. Just look remotely. You can be over the ocean and collect all the information remotely where these elements are locating. It's very informative from the commercial perspective. And the third vector, it's a well-known vector of malware. It can be ransomware. It can be someone that wants to lock your files in the mobile and release them for bitcoins, for money. It can be done just with malware that someone send you a link of Dropbox or something on the WhatsApp, very nice movie. You can see the movie, but when you're executing the movie on the YouTube, it downloads something to your device, and later on, it can continue send out your emails, your contact, the contact of the WhatsApp, whatever it's you believe encrypted, will go out from your mobile with this malware that installed on you. And it's something that happens all the time. There are 2 countries, I don't want to mention their name now, but everyone can imagine who we are talking about, that every roamer that arrives to these countries, they are trying to track him and locate him and try to install things on his device. If you are using free Wi-Fi in hotels or in not secured places, this malicious Wi-Fi, you will get connection to the internet, but at the same time, they will install something to your laptop, to your tablet, or to your mobile phones. And even when you will be back in your country, you will continue to report them many things that may be relevant for them. And other things that people don't know, when you are buying a new car, you have inside the modem there, it's cellular modem, you have inside, I don't know if we need to call it malware, but it's elements, applications that reporting your location 2 times in a day to well-defined dedicated IP address. You have immediately Facebook link. Your car is very friendly. Immediately Facebook. You don't have Facebook, you didn't install Facebook, but it reports to Facebook. Is it a malware? I don't know. If you're buying Huawei devices, in LG devices, you have bundled in the device things that report to the manufacturing of the device. I cannot call it malware, but I definitely can claim that maybe I don't want to report them. I want to block it. And this is my right. Here comes FirstPoint. FirstPoint providing to the CISO, to the expert in cyber at the organization, to have the ability to define what is attack, what is not attack, and what to do in case that we have any kind of attack. And in this case, we are providing comprehensive solution against all 3 vectors that I just mentioned, denial of service, SS7 and diameter loopholes, and data threat. How FirstPoint is doing that, and very important, FirstPoint doing it without any application on the device. We are not believing in applications. Application can be malware by themselves. And you need to adapt applications for iPhone and Android. And what you can do if I'm using a feature phone, and if I'm a smart meter or stupid meter that have no operational service at all, no OS at all. FirstPoint solution is network-based solution. We are some kind of overlay on the network. We are taking all the subscriber. We are calling their identity, it's IMSI, International Mobile Subscriber ID. All the IMSIs that want to have a protection need to be rerouted to our system. We have all the infrastructures that belong to the operator, HSS, HLR, packet gateway, media gateway, MME, all the components, SMSC. And the heart of our solution is that we are providing to all subscribers full anonymity. If someone tried to interrogate you or me, you need to know who I am. So he's trying to call me. He gets my phone number. We are providing full anonymity, that although people continue calling my regular number, my real identity is changed all the time. Especially when I'm traveling out of Israel, I have the ability to define which identity I would like to adopt. I don't want to be Israeli when I'm going to Abu Dhabi. I would like to be from Netherlands. And when I'm going to Russia, I would like to be Indian. We have bank of identities, and we can provide to the CISO pool of identities that when the employees, his people going out, he will define what kind of identities they are going to use. They will continue use their phone IoT device as usual, as regular, but on the network, they will be looks like a foreigner with different identity. And we can change the identity based on different rules. We define something like 43 rules of suspicious attack. For example, if I'm going with a mobile phones and suddenly I can see only 2G with no neighbor cell and no frequency hopping, there is a good chance that someone tried to catch me and I am on IMSI catcher. But there is a chance that I just go down to the garage, -3. They have only one femtocell on 2G technology. It's not attack, it's normal. But at least it's suspicious. We are collecting all the information. We know exactly what's happened. We are reporting it to the CISO. Everything is automatic, but he gets manual reports. And he defines what to do in each case. So here, in this case, at least change your ID. Test the network. We have several ways to test the network, whether it's legitimate or not. And based on this, we are making the decision to report, hey, we have attack, hey, we have some other thing. And all of these things that currently already products that we are selling goes to be deployed to other segments like transportation, smart city, point of sale, healthcare. It's a new segment, very hot segment of the IoT, again, cellular IoT. And as you just said it, best in class. We have a comprehensive solution that no one else can provide. Everyone can provide part of this. Someone can give you protection against malware, mainly on using application on the device, applet. Someone else can provide SS7 firewall, diameter firewall. It's a cellular operator. Third company can provide you a dedicated device without Bluetooth and Wi-Fi, without cameras that will be more protected. It's nice. All solutions are good, but we are collecting all of them without any application. We can provide for smart meter, full protection, seamless.
Impressive. So I have, I'll try to be respectful of your time, but I have a couple of questions that I would like to go. So your company is part of the World Bank Group, and as well, you are part of the 3GPP and the GSMA 5G Security Committee. So I would like to go from the example of how your company solved these problems to how you work with international systems. Because one of the things, like you mentioned before, and for me, it's a very important thing, is there's a lot of kind of counter-information or at least fake news around these things. And what happened is that people think and they put everything in the same box. Okay, I don't need to care about this because in the end of the day, everyone will get my data, and which is partly true. But at the same time, there's a level of data that we own and that we don't own. And at the same time, I think would be interesting for you to highlight from your international work, both with the European Union and different countries and big corporations, and as well all over the world, because you've been from China to US, so you're quite geopolitical, stable on that level as well. So I would like to touch a bit this, because demystifying for me is the most important thing about learning, especially in our times and especially on these topics. But as well is understanding that, like you mentioned, for instance, when you talk about 5G, there's so much myths that even people that might have a better, more educated perception, if they start going to YouTube and they find these very well done videos, they'll think of, okay, 5G, some kind of crazy stuff, when of course there's risks, but there's a lot of good things as well. So I would like to touch, so just repeating and summarizing, the bridge between the work you're doing with your company, which is first class in a lot of areas, with global international organizations, and how the good can be taken out of this. Because like you mentioned, for instance, especially in the sensors and Internet of Things, and hacking or a DDoS attack, for instance, took over the internet just 1 year ago took most of the internet down, including Facebook and Google or a lot of other platforms. So this is no longer affecting just one thing or the other. So I'd like to touch this. Thank you.
Yes. So from this perspective, I think we are doing two main efforts at combining the specific solution to global environments. The first one is some kind of regulation or standardization. You mentioned the 3GPP and GSMA. By definition, they cannot provide security. This is not their business. They need to provide communication. They need to provide the channel, the connectivity between the elements. In case that we will be smart enough to add another level, that we need to build first mitigation that can influence different levels and to provide specific recommendation for each one of the mitigation targets, this will lead for good coherence between the sides. For example, in case that we are going in these days for to the direction of private network, more and more private LTE and very soon standalone 5G networks become very popular in campuses, as universities, in ports, in private places. You have your own network, private network, cellular network. It started in repeaters. If you don't have good coverage, someone bring you a cellular tower locally, picocells, femtocells, and in these days, private network. This is a name. Private network, as definition of cellular network, has the 3GPP and GSMA rules, but there are no rules to protect this private network. In case that we will adapt the rules, what are the risks for the country level, for the company level, for the individuals and different type of organizations, we will adapt the relevant recommendations. What should we do in order to provide secured private network? And this not exist yet. And we are working on this in these days. And this is the first level that we can collaborate and provide our knowledge to the relevant groups. And as you said, education is very important. In our website of FirstPoint Mobile Guard.com, FirstPoint-mg.com, we have a blog that you can find a lot of information, documents, movies, and that educating the different segment. You need to choose where you are, what you need, and you will find the relevant things that can teach you how to be more secure and more safe in your place, organization, country. This is the first level. The second level, as you just mentioned, the Mobile World Bank. Mobile World Bank works with regional banks like Eurobank and others that they have their own mission and motivations to do business, okay? What's happened, it was a January 2020, just before the Corona changed our lives, the pandemic started. I got the opportunity to provide a masterclass at the World Bank Group in Washington, DC. I prepared myself, and before making the masterclass, I had some work group meetings in 5 different places at the bank. Before coming, I just mapped the bank. We're talking about 5 buildings, 3,000 employees, huge place. But I analyzed that there are different groups that dealing with cellular technology, IoT, and telecommunication. And I arranged for myself a dedicated workshop, 1-2 hour talk, and then a discussion. And I invited them, all groups, to my masterclass. And in the masterclass, I had amazing event that I just used my device and I hacked the lady that was nearby me. I controlled her mobile and managed to take her data. And she was shocked. I said, how you did it? I said, it's so simple, everyone can do it. Not everyone, but let's say many people in the world can do it. I'm not a hacker, you remember. And then she asked really seriously, what can we do? So what can we do? And I answered her very simple. When you are providing a loan to a country, to a company, when you are doing investment in a company, first you are doing a due diligence looking for people that will be guarantee for your money. You are not sharing and spread your money to everyone. You are checking many things before. You must do the same when you are part of telecom 5G IoT projects. You cannot invest money in this kind of projects before you are providing a real diagram and real picture how you are protecting this kind of product. And this is amazing. In case that all projects that we are adapting in our world will be, before applying, be secured, we will be in different place. And this can be done after we understand that we are in a problem, like a bank are not providing a loan without be sure that he can see the money back, although they are losing sometimes the money, but 95% they are getting it back. It's not make sense to make projects in telecom without security before. It's impossible. It's like to jump from the roof, 10 floors. Why to do that? You need to be sure that you are protected. And this is our position. This is our education. This is our mission in our life, to give nations, companies, and individuals the umbrella that they are really secure. And this can be done with groups like that. So in order to conclude my answer to you, first, it's not standardization, it's more regulation and adaptation, because the standard it's well known. And second is the mission critical, all projects on telecom, IoT, and 5G need to be secured before starting their implementation.
It's really impressive. And I think you touch one area that is not just for people educating themselves, it's first of all for CEOs, for governments, because we have a lot of governments have no clue about this, and actually a lot of ministers. I've been working with countries that I get nervous with a lack of knowledge. So this touches everyone, and I think the more we are conscious about this, the better we can create a better world, and as well a bit more secure for all of us. So I want to touch precisely one of the areas that is very sensitive is about 5G, and being a global expert on these areas. So you wrote recently a paper that was the darker side of 5G mobile networks and why enterprises need to up their mobile security, and why this is a demand to use especially the areas of fake cell towers and things like that. So can you elaborate a bit on this? Because I think first of all, there's so much myths around 5G, which I think people need to get an education, but a scientific one, not just go into some kind of crazy guy talking about something like this, but as well for the enterprise, because in the end of the day, 5G is already there. It's great for us. It's what is enabling AI and everything we actually enable with our phones and devices, but there's a lot of lack of knowledge. But when it comes to enterprise, it's even more sensitive.
Yeah, you are definitely correct. 5G has three main missions. One, it's a higher bandwidth. We need to have much, everyone is a station of reporting everything out. So we need a radio resource that can be adapted for that. The second is very low latency. But these 2 points is a little bit out of my scope. This is not what I would like to focus in the few minutes that we still have. The third is a massive deployment of IoT solution. And we are talking about real massive deployment. All devices going to be connected through the 5G technology. And this is really amazing. If at the beginning, people talk with people, okay? There was communication between peoples. And then people start talk with machines. Now machines talking with machines, the person is just nearby. The car will communicate with a traffic light. We are just a passenger that goes there. We are not in this business. And on 5G, as the potential is higher, the risks are higher. No doubt that we did amazing work in the security, and we have new identities like Suki and Supi, and more encryption. Now we are discussing and talking about quantum encryption as a 5G technology. So we are really in the state of the art and amazing things that we are involved. I'm part of this group. But as we have new security, we have new attack. And for example, the fake cell tower, as the 5G technology adapt new identities like Suki and Supi, immediately appeared a torpedo attack. Torpedo attack, it's something that replaces the IMSI catching. It can recognize all the devices, although that we have very smart and sophisticated ways to protect your identity, and very easily they are managing to extract your identity by this torpedo event. And this is only one example. We have more and more. As we are using IoT devices, IoT, the devices communicating each other, you can add a fake device that it's not part of the network. It looks legitimate, talking with his neighbor, and at the 0 day, he can communicate out and just shut down the network. And more things like that. For these reasons, let's say sensitive places are not going to deploy that as is, just trying to build more secure way. It's going to be adapted first by not mission critical, but in order to adapt it in our real life everywhere, I think one of the main inhibitors of 5G deployment is the security. When we will be smart enough to put the security in the highest priority and adapt it in the correct places, all the criminals and all the hackers will not be afraid from them. It will not be a problem. We will know how to control it, how to protect, and we will provide the information and the smartness to the experts that know how to protect us, the CISOs, the groups that on charge of that, not on the country levels. Country, it's important, but we want it to be in each business, in each commercial segment, in each industry. And for that, it needs to be very easy to adapt and clear to be used. And we are on the correct way for that. And the high bandwidth and low latency, it's important, but the mission critical of massive deployment of IoT devices, this is the main challenge of the, let's say, next 2-3 years.
So you are an academic with a lot of papers actually published on Google Scholar. People can actually have access to that. And although your company is about cybersecurity, you are as well a global recognized expert in nanotechnology and biology. So can you tell us one of the questions I have, and actually I wrote an essay about biohacking humanity. It was a bit metaphoric, but right now from metaphor, the reality is getting there. So with artificial intelligence, and of course 5G is probably the first stage of making it more advanced, and nanotechnology and biology, we can biohack and increase the power of disruption, both with tech and of course biotech, which is probably much more scary. And a lot of things we see in the past, for instance, you are Jew, and for instance, what the German did in the Second World War was actually precisely using IBM computers to get very sapient, but unfortunately it's important to look at memory. But now we can actually do things much more damage and much more disruptive. So I would like to ask, especially with all the different hats that you have, how do you see these challenges, and especially some of these trends when it comes to tech and society in general? Because one of the challenges that we see, and you are a teacher, so I'm glad that you are teaching as well, and I teach as much as I can, but more right now with digital tools, is that the universities are not preparing people for how advanced things can go. And very easily, if, like you said, if just, I'll finish with this example that is a bit scary, but if you biohack an hospital in India with 50 million people, or the database of the Indian government or another big country worldwide, you can actually look at the entire data and process things and do really very damaging things. So I would like to see how you see this, both with your different heads and as well, of course, with entrepreneurial and enterprise, because I think you have a great thing between entrepreneur, academic, and as well a thinker and researcher.
So thank you for all the compliments. I'm just a regular person. I try to answer you from my perspective.
Not a regular person with around 50 or 100 papers that I appreciate.
The last year teach us a lot about this segment, and it's really important questions that you are arise, because we understood that the hospital, it's critical place, and I can tell you that is not so connected outside, okay? No cellular there, it's wireline, people protecting things. But as in the pandemic and the COVID, people should not go to the hospital because it will infect the others. And the hospitals come home. And today in Israel, we have buildings, 20 floors, 22 floors. And on each building, at the first floor, you have some kind of service room. One of these rooms going to be a small hospital, including all utilities that belongs to hospital. And if someone will not feel good, he will not go to the hospital, he will go to the first floor, enter to this room, and then he will have all state-of-the-art machines that communicating with 5G technology to the main hospital and getting services. For example, today in London, you have several ambulances that are using 5G technology that communicate ultrasound, very state-of-the-art ultrasound, to the hospital, and expert in the hospital doing the exam to the patient on his way to the hospital, okay? It's something that's done remotely. Try to imagine 3 to 5 years from now, in Africa, you will have a surgery in your head with someone from Boston, the expert in the world, can do it remotely to everyone. Here, coming the hacking and the protection to the picture. We are going to take healthcare to the corner, to distribute it everywhere. Instead of going to hospital, we will stay at home. We will take home care. Everything goes to personalized medicine. We are going to adapt it personally to you. The drug, the treatment, nanotechnology of drug treatment, computers. We have a new consortium in Israel called Biosense, that it's sensing, electronic sensing, cellular technology with sensing of blood pressure, oxygen level, temperature, infection, whatever, implant and out of element. And all of this going to be treated remotely by 5G technology. And this 5G technology going to be highly secure, whether by the network itself, nor by companies like FirstPoint that will provide the overlay for these needs. And this is the next generation home care solution. In addition to the hospitals and attacking hospital, you are definitely correct about protecting, but there I'm less worried due to the fact that everything is so old. Israel, in order to find the secret of Iran, need to send people to take the papers out, okay? No hacking, it's physical papers. Many hospitals in India, it's the same story, but I'm thinking for the next step of healthcare at home, healthcare in the building, and here we will have the technology and we need to protect it. And this is the plan, how we are building Protect network to provide remote biosensing and healthcare by the 5G technology, 6G maybe.
Okay, so I'll push one, at least the last one probably, because it's more broader, but I think it makes a bridge about all of these things. So one of the things we discussed is precisely this, and actually my next book, my previous book was about the fourth industrial revolution. How can we reinvent nations? And this is a very important topic for me. That's why I created Cities ABC and Open Business Council. But one of the things is, so with society and technology mostly becoming digitized, or with society becoming digitized, which is already happening, we still have a paradox. And you touched that in the hospitals. For instance, I remember that I had because of traveling a lot before COVID, I had an issue with the hospitals, and I went to the hospital, and as a technologist, I found a joke, because in the first floor, I got a kind of analysis. Then I went to the second floor, and they were asking for the same questions. And I said, but you have a computer. You didn't ask for the second part? No, our computers are not talking to each other. And I thought, okay, so that means this shows as well. This is London, okay? I'm not talking about Africa or an emerging market. So I think one of the challenges we have is definitely that people like you and me are advancing so fast, and the rest of society is very, very slow. So how do you see these velocities, and especially when it comes to business? So at the end of the day, your company is to provide solutions for businesses. And most of the enterprises, for instance, there was a study in the UK alone, and you're talking about UK, which there's around 5 million to 6 million SMEs and startups. And this is from last year, so during COVID, but it's recent. Around 60, close to 70% of the companies don't even have a website. So we are right now, but everyone has a phone, and everyone puts in their phone all their entire documentation. So my question for you, and I think probably the more inspirational to wrap up this, I know that you're trying to solve the problems, very specific, and I think you create a fantastic business model around that, and you are providing, I think, a great service for humanity that we need more. But how do you see these things, and as well how your company can cope with this? And I think, of course, we mentioned the World Bank and a lot of other organizations, but from the people listening to us, because I would say that probably from the 20 to 50,000 views that you're going to have in this video, or more, depends of the video, a lot of people, when we talk about cybersecurity, they will see that it's important, but they don't have a clue. Even the ones that are more advanced, and I can even go through my team that we are a technology company, and probably will be. And normally the problems start internal because people don't have conscience about this. So how do you see, sorry, it's a very holistic question, but I would like to touch this from a business perspective, from a personal level, and from a society level.
Yes, I will try to answer from these different angles, because you are asking about life. You're asking about what is correct to do first, what is second, what is the order of things in life. And you just mentioned that I can say about you that you are amazing and going far ahead, but people are somewhere behind. But the rules and things decided by the people that goes ahead. And we have few examples about that. And it depends on the technology and the segment, but for example, the internet and the big data revolution. No one were ready for that. No one. And the giants like Google and Facebook make the fact that everything is known, everything is published, and if someone says something bad about you, it's very difficult to change it, because it will arise again and again at the search. It's amazing. It's something that no one can imagine that 20 years ago. What we did? Nothing. Today, we are trying to make rules that maybe can be relevant for 10 years ago. Maybe. We are far away because the giants defined the rules. And I'm more afraid, not only hacking, but on the culture of individual culture. We are a small country, Israel, with our culture, you know, everyone. But in case that everyone goes to his mobile phone at the end of the day, and I have 1 day vacation, and I will ask the mobile, like I'm doing everything. I ask him where to eat, where to go, what is the best route to arrive home in the traffic time. I will ask him, what should I do in my vacation? And he will answer me globally based on training of 100,000 people in Palo Alto and Silicon Valley, and all the world, we are going to do the same thing in their vacation. It's amazing. It's who can imagine that we will become one nation? It's bad. It's really bad. All the variety, all the difference between us going to be disappeared. And this is very serious. It's not a cyber, it's life. On the other way, there are technologies that cannot go ahead because of the regulation. For example, energy. In energy, if we would like to change from gas due to the impact of our world, of our globe, due to air pollution, to helium economics, you need to regulate or to define the places of the stations where you are putting it. Without the regulator, nothing will go ahead. On the other side, you mentioned the nanotechnology. You can find on eBay bottles for babies that have nanoparticles, nano-silver particles inside. Why? If you remember, I don't know, I have kids. They are adult now, but when they drink from bottles, you have a color after 10 weeks, something that it's old because the milk eats the plastic. If you are adding nanoparticles, it keeps it fresh, it's clean easier. But what is the influence of silver nanoparticle on the stomach of the baby? No one check it. You can buy it from eBay now. No one stop it. the nanotechnology revolutions come much ahead before what the regulation can stop us. So there is things that in the drug or food, it's the opposite. You cannot use anything before you are getting confirmation from the government. There is some handshake between the giants, the SMEs that you mentioned, the rest of the world, and we need to be aware about the differentiation between people, the culture, the sensitivity, the habits, the traditions, the religious, many things, and try to cook all of them together to make the technology enablers to have more time in order to be more smart, to learn more, to make the world better place, rather than to waste our time if we have extra time for other things to use. And each one of us, FirstPoint providing the cellular cybersecurity, that you can be relaxed from this aspect, and the 100 or 100,000 of companies, of SMEs that will do each one his own business to make us in better place, it will be great for everyone. By keeping each one tradition, position, and a culture. Big challenge, but I'm sure that you can lead something like that in your amazing channel.
Thank you so much. No, I think it's very inspiring, and I think we only touched the part of the iceberg, because your 170 papers plus is really impressive. And of course, I didn't touch all your work in nanotechnology and biology, which is really impressive. Yeah. Now it's another topic. I might want to have one because I'm particularly interested. So thank you so much for your time. Yeah. We'll put information about your company. Of course, this is about your company first, but I think you are much more than just that, which is amazing. And as well, how you separate the different areas. And I hope as well that you continue inspiring us as well, a lot of things. And I think everyone listening to us, I would suggest to research. We'll put all links to your companies, to your research, to your papers. It's really impressive, the work you're doing. I even saw some papers that you're working in terms of looking at imaging technology for look at the cancer therapies and cancer things. So there's a lot of interesting papers that I think everyone should look. So thank you so much, Dr. Dror. It's really a huge honor, and very exciting your work, and congratulations for all the achievements.
Me too. Thank you for your great words and compliments, and I would like to wish you big success in your mission and your vision, how to collect things and to publish them together. Thank you.
Thank you so much.